Talk about the origin of the Malt Project.
Over the years, having lived in Scotland for 4 years, I've always been a Scotch whiskey fan, and we went back in the early 90s, just visited single malt distilleries, and I really discovered that there was a story there, and put together a group of people who all had a passion for it. This has been a labor of love, and I don't even know how many distilleries we visited. I think it must be somewhere around 70. And some of those would be independent bottlers as well. It's been a real education for everyone, and the end result is we have 7 volumes of the Malt Project. I had decided that I was going to stop teaching at the University of Southern California, where I was in the Motion Picture Television Department, School of Cinema, or as it's now called, the School of Cinematic Art. And I was also getting ready to retire from my principal occupation, which was a production company in Pasadena, California. And for probably 30, 40 years, I've been making various documentaries and training and blah, 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 different type of films. And I thought, well, you know, I've always wanted to do something that I really wanted to do. Not that a lot of the films weren't great that we worked on, but it's always nice to say, this is something that is really, that I feel passionate about. I had a couple of students who were grad students that had a passion for single malt Scotch. And one night we were sitting around, and I just happened to have, I will bet you it was a bottle of Glenmorangie or Glenlivet. And we were sipping away, and I said, you know, what would you guys think if we went to Scotland and did a video on single malt Scotch? Before they could swallow the first sip, they said, when? I said, I don't know, maybe this fall. I began with Dylan Weiss and Mike Smith. My son Jeff. Jeff was born in Scotland. I lived in Scotland for 4 years in the Air Force. And it just worked out that these were people that really got involved. We made our first trip in 2003, I think. Maybe it was 2002. Did about 20 distilleries, and at the time we were really hoping to do a TV special. It's hard to place spirits on American television. We all got together out in Arizona and sat around and said, what the hell are we going to do with this now? And we all pretty well decided that DVDs were the answer, because we felt that people really want to know about distilleries. Very few people have the opportunity to travel to as many distilleries as we have. We decided to release Volume 1 on Islay because at the time we felt that it was the most demanding and popular and growing malt. We hit it right on the head. But there's no question. Islay malts are probably the most demanding. And there's one other thing. Most people don't get to Islay. You really have to want to go to Islay. It isn't an easy destination. It's easy to get to Speyside. It's easy to go up to the Highlands. It's not easy to get to Islay. And once you're there, it's amazing that you can visit 7 or 8 distilleries really in a day if you're suicidal. It kept growing. Then Todd Rainsberger joined us later, and I think Todd's made as many distilleries with us as anybody else.
What's the purpose? I mean, what's the purpose of the whole series?
The purpose is to spread the word to people about single malt Scotch, to educate the people, and to allow people to visit Scotland who would never have a chance. We get emails from people in Alabama or in Germany or in France or in Sweden, and they say, we're so delighted that we can see this because I planned a trip to Islay or to Speyside next year, and this will prepare me for this trip. I had a good friend who was taking something like 50 people to Scotland. He had lived there when I did in the Air Force. And Glenn McLaughlin wrote me and said, I want to get like three sets of them, and I'm going to distribute it to all the people that are going. And then in return, I arranged special trips to 2 or 3 distilleries for them. I mean, and that was one of the highlights of their visit to Scotland. Castles, kilts, scotch, you know, what the heck.
Talk about your personal interest in whiskey, your personal passion for whiskey.
My passion, excuse me, my passion for whiskey, probably, I like flavors. I like cooking. I like food very much. One of the early things we had in mind on this series was to do a television show, a special about whiskey and food. And you'll notice if you go through our various volumes, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 6, maybe 4, almost all of them have something about food in it. I think that people who like good wine tend to like single malts. They're exciting, and they're very exciting to share with other people. I think that's one of the things that has really turned me on. And the guys that have worked with us, I mean, we try to get together when we can, and we aren't collectors. I like to take John Hansel's approach. I'm not a collector, I just have a lot of bottles.